Greetings, folks. Just recently I read an article, or saw an article, where a celebrity said that she had lost the weight that she wanted eating what she wanted. Let's look into that statement. Let's clarify that what she wanted statement. I guarantee you that this particular celebrity chose the food that she ate from a predefined list of foods that were made available to her for the purpose of her weight loss. In other words, she ate what she wanted out of that list or that group of allowed foods. That's one thing. A second thing to keep in mind is she didn't eat as much as she wanted. If she had eaten as much as she wanted, she wouldn't have lost weight, period. So, those meals were prepared for her by the company that sponsored her, or that she's being a pitch person for. Those meals were defined as far as the number of calories in the meals, and they had to know how many calories she required to maintain or to lose weight. Okay, at this point, you know, or at least you have the tools through the emails that we've sent, you know how many calories it takes for you to maintain yourself and what you should shoot for as far as losing weight. The question is, or the challenge is, figuring out how many calories you're consuming. That's the challenge, and that is indeed a challenge. There are a few different ways I've seen that people do this and that I've tried myself. The first is kind of a wing it method, but it's not completely just winging it. I got this method from an online contest that I entered, an online fitness or body transformation contest that I entered, where they described what they call portions of food. And they said that in each meal you should eat a portion of carbohydrate and a portion of protein. They defined a portion as being the size of your outstretched hand, say in the case of fish, like a fish fillet or steak or something like that, or the size of your balled up fist. Like a portion of rice would be about as big as your balled up fist, or a portion of green beans would be about as big as your balled up fist. So, the pluses of that method are that it's very simple. You have your hands with you wherever you go, so you're able to kind of guesstimate what a portion is at all times. And so that's very convenient, and that is the primary benefit of that method. The disadvantage of that method is that as far as your calories are concerned, you really don't know how many you're consuming when you just do the whole portion thing. You don't know. You can't. You're using this this kind of gauge that doesn't tell you what you're consuming in comparison to the number of calories that you're trying to reach. So there are pluses and minuses of that method, and there are pluses and minuses for every method I'm going to explain here. But all of the methods are better than nothing at all. So let's go to the second method. The second method is you can go to different websites, and for each of your meals, you can track those meals. You can find the food that you consumed on the website and choose that food, or you can input it, and you can have that. You can keep up with it and list those foods for each of your meals in the course of a day. The plus of that method, the pluses are that it gets you much closer to knowing what you're actually consuming. It shows you the number of calories for different types of foods. So you kind of get a gauge as to how many calories are in a particular food. Those are big pluses. Those are big pluses. The minuses are that you need to be either near a computer, or you need to have a handheld, mobile device that you can punch the stuff in. You need something to record these foods that you're consuming. And also, they will list, they'll say, did you consume a large apple, or did you consume a medium apple, or did you consume a small apple? It's kind of subjective. So you have to list what you think is the size of whatever food that you ate. you don't know for sure. So there's a little bit of guessing in there, and for that reason, it doesn't tell you exactly how many calories you're consuming. But again, this method is better than nothing, and it will tell you, in a general sense, how many calories you're consuming. So, method number one, the wing it method, or using your hand for the portions. Method number two, going to a website, and there are many. Going to a website and listing, fit.com or fitday.com, I think, or Lance Armstrong has a site, livestrong.com. Both of those you can do the tracking. Both of them are good sites. Another method is measuring your food. So, I have here a couple of measuring cups, and just as an example, let's say that you have some oatmeal in the morning. Well, on the back of the oatmeal carton or container, it says, one serving equals X number of calories, and it lists all the nutrition information beside that as well. And it'll say something like, and I'm guessing here, one serving you need a couple of cups of water or milk and 1 cup of oatmeal. Hey, that gets you pretty close. So you can measure oatmeal, cereal, you might measure servings of green beans or corn. Anything that you can put into a measuring cup, you can use these to measure the food. Pluses of that method: it's getting pretty accurate, particularly for some foods. It's becoming very accurate. Minuses, you have to put your food in the cup before you eat it, so it's a little bit on the tedious side, but a very good method. And again, it would probably get you closer if you did this for each of your foods. It will get you closer to the actual calorie consumption you're having each day. The fourth and final method is, again, a method of measuring, but it's using a food scale. And this is a food scale, and it's super good. With a food scale, you can weigh your food. You can weigh it in grams, ounces, pounds, and you can become very close to being right there as far as the number of calories you're consuming in a day. And you do it using the food label, or if the food doesn't have it listed on a label, let's say that you go to a butcher shop or whatever, and you ask them to cut you a slice of meat or a slice of fish. For that type of thing that doesn't have the nutrition information listed, because they'll just wrap it in a piece of paper or whatever, you can go online and you can look up how many calories does this particular food have per gram or per ounce. And when you weigh your food, it'll tell you the number of grams or ounces, etc., that or the number of calories per gram or per ounce that food has. And you can do that for all your food, and you can become pretty much exact as far as the number of calories you're consuming on a daily basis. The pluses of that method: you start to hone in on exactly how many calories you're consuming in a day's time. And you start to get a sense. You do this for, say, a few weeks, and you start to get a sense of what you're consuming whenever you eat food. And you don't have to have the scale. You just get a sense of it. And it's just something that comes from doing this over the course of time. Another plus of that is, and maybe I mentioned this, it is very close. It's probably the closest that you can get using household methods to knowing exactly how many calories you're consuming. The negative part is that it adds a little bit of work. It's not that bad, but it does add. It rhymed. It's not that bad, but it does add. It adds to the amount of time that it takes for you to prepare your food. So consider those methods, choose one of them, and use it to help you to hone in on the number of calories you're consuming on a daily basis. One other note: at some point in the future, and I'll let you know about this, at some point in the future, I'm going to have on my website the food selection thing. So you can choose that, keep it in a database, and hone in on your calories that way. If you have any questions, as usual, send me an email. Come up and talk to me if you see me. And look forward to kicking this thing off here in another day. Have fun. Talk to you soon.